If you are in a place where it is comfortable and appropriate for you to do so, please close your eyes and begin to take some slow, long, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and peace entering the body and mind, and with every exhale, feel like you are capable of letting go of all tension and anything you do not want. Inhaling peace and exhaling, letting gravity just have all the tension. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove up with a sacred golden light. We recognize that this is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it easily and quickly burns away everything that is unlike itself. Into this sacred space, we call upon the presence of our Creator. To many of us, our Creator presents themselves as a god and goddess, mother and father. Into this space, we also invoke and invite the presence of our teachers, guides, and angels. We dedicate the time that we spend together to each other and to them, and we ask that we be guided and led as we walk upon the way, becoming happier, healthier, more peaceful, more prosperous, more gracious, and more loving people. Thank you very much. Together we say, blessed be. I'd like to talk about the concept of service today. I think a lot of times people get the wrong idea of service and selfless service. And there's this misunderstanding that service should somehow hurt you. Being of service to others means that you should suffer for their sake or something like that. And that's a little bit off the mark, at least as I understand it. Service is important because it's through serving that we become aware of and grounded in our spiritual truth. For one thing, you can't give something that you don't have, but by giving it, you increase it, and by giving it, you make it permanent. It's said that what we give comes back to us multiplied, but it never really leaves. There's nothing that actually leaves you. Whatever you give is yours forever. And the reason why it seems to come back to you multiplied is because giving in and of itself is the multiplier. Let's think in terms simply of ideas for a moment. When I share an idea with somebody, does that mean that I no longer have that idea and that I have lost access to that idea and that I'm impoverished somehow by giving that idea to somebody? No. When I give an idea, when I share an idea, I've increased the value of that idea. I've increased that idea because now not only do I have that idea, but I've shared it with somebody else. And if they like the idea, they can use it. And so now that idea has grown, but I didn't lose the idea. And that's how giving works. And so sometimes when you give service, we have this idea that I'm giving and then I'm somehow impoverishing myself for the service or for the sake of other people, and that somehow makes me more spiritual. That doesn't make sense, though, if you think of it in terms of what we just discussed with ideas, because everything is an idea. Ultimately, everything is an idea. You're an idea. Your possessions are ideas. Money is an idea. Wisdom is an idea. The craft is an idea. Your car is an idea. Relationships are ideas. Souls are ideas. Bodies are ideas. It's all ideas. So whatever we share, we are increasing. So we have to be very clear about what we want more of, what we want to increase in our lives, because that's what we want to give. But we understand that we're giving from the realm of and to the realm of ideas, the mental world. And that's where all increase happens. And that's where all truth happens. We have come to believe that the physical world is the real world and the mental world is the unreal world. Oh, it's just in your mind. Oh, it's just an idea. It's not real. That's the illusory nature of this world. That's how the world has us trapped in an illusion, is we believe that what we see and feel and what has three-dimensional structure is what's real, and the rest of it is somehow less important. But we've discovered, and anybody that's worked in magic for any significant period of time where they've been able to see how it works, understands that the physical world is a product of ideas. It's a crystallization of ideas. It's been stated that the physical is the densest form of spirit, and that spirit is the finest form of matter. And so you can think in terms of matter and spirit being somewhat on a continuum. Some people are more oriented toward the physical and some people are more oriented toward the spiritual. But ultimately, we all have our home in the spirit. We all have our home in the spirit, and the physical is the effect, is the world of effect. So even though it seems in the world of physical, like when you give something away, that you lose it, we have to understand that the physical is a representation of ideas. And so in the physical world, everything is subject to time. So you would have to wait in the physical world in order for that idea that you've just expanded by giving it away to come back to you, because that's how the physical world is. Since it is three-dimensional, it works in time, and we have to respect time while we're in the physical. But in the spiritual world, the spiritual counterpart of everything that you give has already increased. The only way to be truly of service in this world is by giving that which is necessary to be given in any situation. But it's not, luckily, up to us personally to determine what that service is supposed to look like and what is the optimal service for us to give at any given time. Because if it were up to us, the fact that we are in the bodies that we're in and we are at a state of evolution and development that we are in, we don't have access to all the data. We don't have access to the big picture. But luckily for us, each of us was given sort of an Ariadne's cord, a link to divine guidance. And so there is a guide that each and every one of us has. It's part of our makeup. It's always been there, always will be there. So if you're going to be of service, the best way to do that is to, rather than say, I think so-and-so needs such and such, therefore I'm going to give it to them, is instead to turn and ask your guide, how can I be most of service today? How can I be of service today? How can I be used for the highest possible purposes today? And in this moment, and in this situation, etc. Learning how to first ask and then act, rather than acting out of what we believe is the best idea at the moment. So to be of true service, we start by asking. We start by asking. Being of service is something we do out of self-interest, because that's the way to get our lives working in the best possible way. Because what we give, if we're giving in the right way, then we are increasing that in our own lives. And so as something increases in our lives, there's more and more joy, there's more and more peace, there's more abundance, there's more of everything good. And so giving is something, and serving is something we do out of self-interest. A lot of people forget that the first step is asking, because believing that you know what's best in any situation is oftentimes the opposite of service, the opposite of help. It's oftentimes interference. It's oftentimes something that is the antithesis of what is necessary or needed in a particular situation. So it's a good thing to, if you're interested in really plugging in to your purpose and really plugging into the power source of the universe so that you can have more, be more, and do more, it's a great idea to start your day asking, how can I be of service? Asking Spirit, please use me. Use my hands, use my words, use my thoughts, use my intentions, use my everything. Tell me where to go, tell me what to do, tell me what to say, tell me who to talk to, guide my thoughts, guide my actions, guide my intentions, guide everything for me so that I can be of best service today. And that kind of sets the tone for the day, where you're just open and receptive to the idea of being of service. And then in the moment, you can ask, what do I do now? Where would I go now? What would I say now? What would I do now? What happens is then things start to transform in our lives. So for instance, maybe you work at a bagel shop. Maybe that's your job. You work at a bagel shop and you think, well, I'm a cashier. That's what I do. You start working like this and saying, yeah, but actually I don't work for a bagel shop. I don't work for this company. I work for Spirit. And right now, Spirit has me in a bagel shop, but that's not my job. My job is being of service. My job is being a spiritual master. So Spirit has me in this bagel shop because that's where I'm going to be of best service right now. So even though it looks like my job is taking orders, making bagels, selling bagels, wrapping bagels, making sandwiches, toasting bagels, putting butter on bagels, putting cream cheese on bagels, doing bagel kinds of activities, even though it looks like my life is about bagels, my life is actually about serving the souls of those people that I'm put in front of, those encounters. And so since instead of orienting my mind toward the bagels and the bagel shop and my bagel job, I am now orienting my mind toward Spirit and service and what I'm here to do and what I'm here to accomplish and what I'm here to give. And in the moment, whatever customer happens to come to you or wherever you happen to have an interaction with somebody, you are there to be a healer to whoever comes in your presence. And you heal those people not by deciding I'm healing you. You heal those people by asking Spirit, how am I best used here? And as you heal them, guess what? You're healed. As you heal, as you allow yourself to be taught how to heal in a situation, you are healed. Because an idea expands as it's shared. So your service is, like I said, out of self-interest, because as you become a conduit for Spirit healing others, then you have that healing for yourself. And healing comes in so many different forms, doesn't it? There's all kinds of healing that can happen, and it's not up to us to determine what those things look like. What is up to us is to be at the ready, to ask, what is my assignment? What is my assignment? What is my assignment? But you see, the ego doesn't like that. The ego wants to be in charge. I want to be the one. I want to know. I want to be the one. I want to be in charge of everything. Right? That's what the ego wants. But see, that's bogus, because what the ego is trying to convince us that we want, I want to be the boss, I want to be the this, I want to be the that, is a trick to occupy our minds on everything other than being of service. Because when we are of service, then we get the goods. Then we become happy. Then we get more and more and more of what we want. Then our lives expand along all lines. If we're asking in the moment, if we are at the ready, if we are always in that questioning mind as to how can I be of better service. Now, if we just decide to be of service and we're not asking, then service is not fun. Service stops being fun altogether when we're not asking and we decide how to be of service. Then we get these ideas that, I have to be selfless and I have to be impoverished and I have to have pain and I have to prove to the universe how selfless and in service I am by giving until it hurts and all of that nonsense. I was taught to be of service with a witch's primer. I had no desire to get online. Never once did that seem to be something that was interesting to me. I had all kinds of other activities that I was having fun with at the time. And it just kept coming to me and coming to me and coming to me. And in fact, it was an old student of mine who had their own podcast who said, I really think a witch's primer would be great as a podcast. Have you ever thought about that? I'm like, ew, that sounds like A, a lot of work, B, a lot of exposure. I've always been kind of a private person. It's just like, but it kept coming to me, and I kept asking to be of service, and this kept being presented to me. And I thought, well, rather than avoiding it, why don't I do what I'm supposed to do and just say yes to the service? And then it was very clear, you do this, and then you do that, and then you do this, and you do that, and you put it out there. And you just put it out there. That was my way of being of service at the time. And then that grew into the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing. A lot of people look at that and they say, wow, Ariel is so selfless. Ariel just puts himself out there and gives and gives and gives. And they don't understand that I'm not doing it to be selfless and to give and give and give. I'm doing it because it makes me happy. I get so much benefit from it. I get so much more and more and more of the magic and the prosperity and the joy and the everything, because not that I'm deciding to do a particular type of service, but that I am asking how I can be of service, and then I say yes to it. So I'm not being selfless. I'm being very selfish. I'm getting so much benefit. I probably get more back than any of the students get. So when you're in a place where you are willing to say yes to Spirit, Spirit's not just going to use you, chew you up, and spit you out. Spirit's going to use you for the benefit of the universe, not only so that others can be benefited, but so that you can be benefited. So that you can be benefited. If your service doesn't benefit you, it's not real service. If your service does not benefit you, it's not real service. Spirit doesn't work like that. That's a myth that the ego mind came up with many, many years ago, that in order to be of spiritual service, you basically need to be a martyr. You have to be a martyr. You have to have pain. You have to prove to the universe how selfless you are. That's not service. That's just martyrdom. And that's not how Spirit works. Spirit works by very practical, natural law. What you give increases in your life. And if you want to know how to have the most increase of joy in your life, don't make up your own mind how to give. Ask first. You've got a hotline. Can you imagine if you were an artist and you were doing okay, but you were kind of stuck in a certain area of your art? And let's just say that you were living back in the time of Picasso or Dali, and those artists were there and they said, would you like me to show you? Would you like me to give you some lessons? I can show you some amazing tools and tricks. Can you imagine saying, no, I don't think so. I think I'll just do it myself because I know how to do it. No, you wouldn't do that. You'd say yes. You'd eat it up. You'd say, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, that's what your guide is. Your guide is like the Picasso of consciousness for you. Not only brilliant and masterful and a genius, but highly eager and willing and able and available to help you to make the right choices, to make up your mind properly as to how to be of service. And see, if you are asking, how can I be of service? Spirit never is at a loss. You're never going to find yourself where Spirit goes, well, you've just given so much, we're done. There's no more. We're all done. Yay. Spirit will always find another opportunity for you to give and for you to serve. And each of those opportunities is another opportunity for you to be benefited, So there is no time or place in your life where there isn't an opportunity to be of service to Spirit. And sometimes being of service doesn't look like you think it's going to look. We have these preconceived notions of what service is supposed to look like. Sometimes service is telling somebody, nope. You ask, and sometimes the very clear indication from your inner guidance is no. Tell them no. Don't talk to them anymore. Tell them no. But just put the kibosh on this. That is the way we can serve them the best, is just by shutting down communication with them right now. Sometimes being of service is to give encouragement. Sometimes being of service is keeping your mouth shut. Sometimes service is giving money. Sometimes service is saying, no, I will not give you money. Sometimes being of service has to do with giving lessons and teaching skills to people. Sometimes service is allowing somebody to teach you. So you never know how to give service all by yourself. And if you think you do, you're going to be wasting a lot of time, precious energy and time. But if you learn how to ask first, how can I be of service? What would you want me to do here? What do you want me to say here? Where do you want me to go right now? What do you want from me? I'm here for you. Then You get used to listening and being guided by those inner promptings, and you get better and better and better at it. And then you serve in the way that Spirit would have you serve, and you'll notice that your life starts improving and improving and improving dramatically and drastically. And oftentimes the idea of service is a huge missing link inside somebody's development. I notice that sometimes people come with all kinds of problems, they're very big problems, this problem and that problem and this problem and that problem. And they're always trying to figure out, what do I get? What do I do? What do I get? What do I do? What do I get? What do I do? And they never get to the point where they say, what can I give? What can I give? Where should I give? Where should I be of service? Because they think, I don't need to be of service. I need to be served. Once I get all these problems solved, then I can be of service. While it's true you can't give something that you don't have, if you don't give what you do have, you don't have it. It's not accessible to you. So if you really do have all those problems, you're probably not listening to Spirit's guidance, and you're probably not asking Spirit, how can I be of service? Because if you did, Spirit would have you serving and giving in ways that create solutions for you. Oftentimes when we are stuck in problems and we think that there's no way out, we've tried everything and we're so frustrated, very rarely have we confronted this idea of how can I best be of service here? Usually that's the last thing on our mind. And that's exactly how the ego wants it. And that's why the ego wants you preoccupied with unsolvable problems. Keeps you so busy. You can have lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of busyness trying to solve these problems that aren't solvable. And that way you'll never say, what can I do to be of service? Because ego knows if you ask, what can I do to be of service, that's the point of entry for the solving of these problems that are insolvable. Because to Spirit, there is no such thing as an unsolvable problem. To Spirit, everything's easy. There's no hard, there's no easy, there's no difficult, there's no simple. It's all the same. It's all just light. It's all one. Whether or not you're in a place where you have a lot of problems, you're going to have more and more happiness, more and more success if you are in a place every single day where you're asking, how can I be of service, rather than doing what we are taught to do, and that's a scramble. How do I figure this out? The idea of asking how I can be of service is the way that you can expand your good, because everything you give expands, and everything you withhold is withheld from you. But the trick is to not determine for yourself how and where to give and how and where to be of service. The trick is asking, and then the sky's the limit. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be.